Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Spaceflight Now's live coverage of the latest mission from Europe's spaceport down in Kourou, French Guiana. I'm Will Robinson Smith, reporter with Spaceflight Now. It's good to be with you here on this Wednesday, June 17th. We are broadcasting, as we always do, from the Spaceflight Now News Bureau here at NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida, and you're looking live at an Ariane 6 in the 6-4 configuration, getting ready to deliver the largest and heaviest payload by mass for an Ariane rocket, batch of 36 Amazon LEO satellites. You can see the Amazon LEO logo emblazoned at the top of the fairing half facing the camera from this angle here. Just beneath that is the logo for Ariane Group. And of course, several ESA logos around the pad as well. Time currently 27 minutes, 55 seconds, and counting to the opening of the window today to fly these satellites up into low Earth orbit. This is the third out of 18 launches that Amazon LEO procured on board an Ariane
So
6
36 is
rocket.
a milestone for us. This is really important. This is 10 to 15% increase compared to the previous version.
As we're getting rolling here with our coverage, want to thank the more than 200 of you who are watching along with us live at this point in the broadcast. If you haven't already, you could do us a big favor just by clicking the like button and sharing the stream to allow some more folks to find their way into this live launch coverage. We're also joined once again by our Spaceflight Now editor, Stephen Young, who's running the technical operations of our broadcast, and our moderators in the chat who are helping us out on this one. Jules and M. Teresa are back with us again after helping us out with the launch of the Falcon 9 rocket from Cape Canaveral Space Force Station earlier this morning. The sun is very much up here shining on Florida's Space Coast, and weather looking pretty darn good down there in French Guiana as well, with a liftoff set for just about 26 minutes from now. Again, that is the opening of the window. It runs from 8:53 to 9:22 local time down there in Kourou. That's 7:53 to 8:22 a.m. Eastern, or 11:53 to 12:22 UTC for those around the world. Following liftoff of this rocket, the deployment of the 36 Amazon LEO satellites set to begin about just shy of an hour and a half after a liftoff, with the deployment sequence lasting less than 30 minutes time. This, of course, is a series of launches that Amazon LEO procured in order to deploy its broadband internet satellites into low Earth orbit. The company was originally slated to have all of its, or excuse me, not all of it, half of its more than 3,200 satellite constellation on orbit and in operation by the end of next month. That was their original deadline, but the Federal Communications Commission did grant them a waiver to be able to miss that deadline. In the category of no such thing as a free lunch, the granting of the waiver did not come without strings attached. According to the order issued from the FCC, the Amazon LEO satellites that are not deployed and operational by the original deadline of July 30th of this year, quote, will temporarily lose the associated priority status granted in both the 2020 KA and KU band processing round and the 2021 V band processing round, and will be reassigned to a later priority status. The loss of status will last for 20 months until March 30th of 2028, or until 50% of the constellation is launched and operational, whichever occurs first, end quote. So a little bit of loss of priority status from these satellites that are being put on orbit later than originally planned, but they won't incur a steep financial penalty by being late. This domino effect from the late debut of some of the launchers that Amazon awarded launch contracts to in order to get its constellation on orbit. Those include still waiting for ULA and its Vulcan rocket to be able to start deploying Amazon LEO satellites, as well as Blue Origin's New Glenn rocket, both vehicles grounded for differing reasons. March toward the first Vulcan flight of a batch of Amazon LEO satellites. Take a look at this photo shared by ULA and Amazon that shows inside what's referred to as the VIF-A, or Vertical Integration Facility Amazon, as it's now known. I'll back up a slide and show you from the outside. That's what it looks like. This is the second vertical integration facility that ULA constructed at its pad, Space Launch Complex 41 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, to be able to launch Vulcan rockets at a higher clip once they are no longer grounded. Teams will soon be rolling the rocket that you see here out to the pad for a wet dress rehearsal tanking test. This is because ULA will be launching the Amazon LEO satellites using the upper stage that you see hoisted midair in this shot. This is what ULA refers to as its LEO optimized upper stage, the Centaur 5 upper stage. Meanwhile, ULA is preparing for a launch of its own for the Amazon LEO constellation. This is the Atlas V, the final Atlas V that will fly a non-government mission. After this, there are just 6 Atlas Vs remaining, and all of those are configured to support the launch of a Boeing Starliner spacecraft. Time now L minus 17 minutes, 47 seconds and counting. This mission that is set to fly with the Ariane 6-4 configuration of the rocket features slightly different solid rocket boosters that are around the main stage. Those who've seen the first series of Ariane 6 rockets may have clocked that these are slightly longer. They're about a meter longer in length and are designated P160C motors versus the previously flown P120C design. The advantage of flying this newer iteration is that it can provide between 10 to 15% of an increase in performance for the launcher. That translates to carrying about 14 tons more payload on board the rocket as compared to the previous iteration of the vehicle. Here's a look inside the integration facility of the solid rocket boosters before the rocket was set up in the current launch configuration out at the pad. This augmented capability to the Ariane 6-4 configuration allows Arianespace to deliver now 36 of the Amazon LEO satellites in one flight, as opposed to the first two launches that we saw, which carried 32 satellites each. Yesterday, in the run-up to the mission, we had the chance to hear from leadership both at Arianespace as well as Amazon LEO in a rare opportunity for us to talk to them. We certainly appreciate both Amazon LEO and Arianespace for spending some time with members of the press to talk to us about the upcoming mission. In this next clip, want to play a little bit of sound from part of that conversation. You'll be hearing from David Keviole. If mispronounced the last name there, apologies to David, the CEO of Arianespace, talking about the importance of launching this upgraded version of the Ariane 6-4 rocket and the potential learnings from this and what it will mean for the company moving forward.
So 36 is a milestone for us. This is really important. This is 10 to 15% increase compared to the previous version. So of course it's important and we want to secure this milestone. This is our focus as of today. But of course the story doesn't stop there. The more we launch, the better we know the launcher. We already are looking at further improvement. So we'll do our best to keep increasing the performance of the launcher and thus the number of satellites we can carry for each launch.
The time is currently L minus 13 minutes, 28 seconds and counting. Unfortunately, we don't have a good fueling timeline for the Ariane 6-4 rocket, so a little bit hard to pinpoint exactly where we are in the countdown timeline here, but getting close to the opening of the window when the rocket will take flight. It'll be just less than 2.5 minutes before the solid rocket boosters separate from the main stage after liftoff. That happens about 86 kilometers in altitude. Less than a minute after that, at about 131 kilometers in altitude, is when the fairing halves will separate, exposing the 36 Amazon LEO satellites to the vacuum of space. As mentioned earlier, we heard not only from David at Ariane Space, but also from the Vice President of Production Operations at Amazon LEO, Stephen Mateer. And in this part of the conversation, we learned a little bit more about the processing timeline for the satellites themselves once they leave Kirkland, Washington, and make their way here to Florida to go through final pre-launch processing, at least for the satellites that fly from here in Florida. Of course, those are on board SpaceX Falcon 9 rockets, ULA's Atlas V, and in the future Amazon LEO, as well as in the future Blue Origin's New Glenn rockets. The company is able to produce several satellites per day is what their current production rate is up to, and Stephen noted that it's important for them right now to be running ahead of the launch capability that they have at hand, so that as launches are available, they're not waiting on the satellites themselves, so they have plenty of them. So in this clip here, you'll hear him talk about what the throughput is like at their payload processing facility at the Kennedy Space Center here in Florida, as well as looking towards the future with flying on board Vulcan.
Satellites, very quickly, we've built a pretty unique payload processing facility there at Kennedy Space Center, where we're agnostic to the launch vehicle. We can integrate multiple rockets at a time, different rockets at a time. So it's pretty amazing. It takes about a week from us the time we receive one in the door to get it integrated into a dispenser. Teams and that's improving every day as the teams get more and more experience. So really proud of that facility we've designed and built down there, and the crew that we've hired to man it. As far as Vulcan, you're right. They're proceeding with their processing in our new vehicle integration facility down in that's again Amazon's dedicated facility down there at the Cape. And wet dress rehearsal is coming up very soon. I suspect you can ask ULA for probably more specifics on their exact timing, but we're planning on them being sometime in the Q3 this year, the end of Q3, to be able to be ready with a Vulcan launch.
And again, that was Amazon LEO's Stephen Mateer. The timeline for resolving the investigation into the in-flight anomaly with one of the solid rocket boosters from Northrop Grumman that happened during the February launch of the USSF 87 mission on a Vulcan rocket. The timing of that resolution is not super clear from a public perspective, but given Stephen Mateer's optimism that a launch of Vulcan will happen by the end of Q3 this year, suggests that they may be close to getting that fully tucked away and getting ready to be back into a flight posture. The launches of Vulcan supporting the Amazon LEO constellation will use 6 solid rocket boosters, so of course they want to make sure that that issue is fully resolved before they get back to flight. But as we heard from ULA's Gary Wentz, the launch of the Vulcan, or the LEO Vulcan 1 mission, would be their return to flight, at least as currently planned. Time now currently L minus 6 minutes, 33 seconds and counting. May have noted the adjustment in our countdown clock. We were counting for the seconds on this mission. So liftoff time currently tracking for 8:53:52 a.m. local time, 7:53:52 a.m. Eastern, or 11:53:52 UTC for those joining around the world. As we're getting closer to the liftoff of this rocket and the heaviest payload to fly on an Ariane rocket, I want to thank the now more than 700 of you who are watching along with us live this morning. Just a handful of minutes left to go. If you haven't already, you could do us a big favor just by clicking that like button and sharing the stream. Allow more folks to find their way into this live launch coverage. I mentioned one of the other providers that will be launching the Amazon LEO satellites is Blue Origin's New Glenn rocket, flying from Florida. As I'm sure most, if not all of you, are well aware, the static fire anomaly that led to an explosion at the pad was a setback for the company, but just today, it was the director of operations confirming that they are 5 minutes away from launch. Blue Origin CEO Dave Limp, just to close the loop real quick on that, did confirm at a conference appearance this morning that they are still working to get back to launch this year. Did note in his comments when talking about their lunar program, though, that the first flight of a Blue Moon Mark I cargo lander, nice shot of the Vulcan main engine there, Blue Moon Mark I will now not fly until sometime early next year. Certainly pushing the lunar ambitions and the learnings from that back further than Blue Origin and NASA had hoped. If you want to learn more about where things stand, though, with the Artemis program, we've got a video for you on our YouTube channel right now. So after this broadcast is done, you can take a look at that and get caught up with all things Artemis 3, which includes, of course, an important European component, the European Service Module, which is being integrated to the crew module for the Orion spacecraft this summer. Just under 2.5 minutes to liftoff of the Ariane 6 rocket now. less than 2 minutes to launch now. See all the spectators are heading outside to watch the liftoff for themselves, and then they'll come back into the room to follow the mission as it continues on, but we're approaching now the final minute before liftoff. Let's listen in.
À tous de DDO, attention pour moins d'une minute. À tous de DDO. Arrêt du temps des comptes suite à un rouge. Ensemble de lancement. Que tous les moyens restent prêts pour la reprise de la chronologie. À Giro, moins 5 minutes.
Looks like the board showed that they were within violation of launch criteria, so looking to recycle and set a new T0, standing by for further. As you can see with the scroll on the monitor here, teams are working to assess a new T0 launch time right now, as they were currently read on launch criteria. The window today runs from 7:53 to 8:22 a.m. Eastern Time. That's 11:53 to 12:22 UTC. You can see the clock has recycled back to 5 minutes, but the clock is not running at this point in time, so that's just a placeholder for the moment. We'll let you know when a new T0 has been established and announced. just past the top of the hour here on the, well, all parts of the globe. Just a minute past 8 here on the East Coast, a minute past 9 down in French Guiana. There's just about 21 minutes left in the clock today, or in the window, for Arianespace to launch this rocket. Wasn't immediately clear what launch rule was violated that caused them to pause the countdown, and looking my colleague Stephen Young is letting me know in my ear that it was a ground systems issue that triggered the hold. That's the latest from Arianespace. We've not heard a further update at this point in time. Of course, we will keep you apprised as we do hear more. When it does launch, this will be the largest and heaviest by mass payload that an Ariane rocket will have launched to date. Apologies for everyone's hearing on that. It was erroneous tone that was coming through the feed there. We were not anticipating, so again, sorry for that. Still standing by and awaiting further updates from Arianespace on the status of the mission. Again, they do have a window that remains open until 8:22 a.m. Eastern, 9:22 Kourou time, 12:22 UTC. So still a bit of latitude here. That all depends on the source of the ground systems issue, of course, and how quickly that could be cleared. May be that teams need to take more time to figuratively run this to ground, and may pivot to a backup launch opportunity potentially as soon as tomorrow. But again, they are still working towards a launch attempt today, and have not exhausted their launch window as of yet. as we await the further update from Arianespace on their ability to launch today, we do have an update from the previous mission that we covered this morning, the flight of AST Space Mobile's Bluebird satellites 8, 9, and 10. The company, while we did see a successful deployment of the satellites, now AST Space Mobile has confirmed that they are in communication with them and they are in good condition on orbit. The company noting that the next trio of satellites, Bluebirds 11, 12, and 13, quote, will ship shortly for our next launch, while next generation Bluebird satellites through Bluebird 37 are already in active production and assembly, end quote. So things chugging along now for AST Space Mobile following the unfortunate setback with the loss of the Bluebird 7 satellite due to the upper stage anomaly in the NG-3 mission on a Blue Origin New Glenn rocket. Again, we're standing by for further details of the clearing of the ground systems issue that cropped up, preventing a launch at the opening or near the opening of the window with today's flight from French Guiana. Watching Spaceflight Now's live coverage of the Theo Europe 3 mission on an Ariane 6-4 rocket. time now here locally, 8:12 a.m. Eastern, 12:12 UTC for those around the world. We've got about 10 minutes remaining in the launch window for today's flight of an Ariane 6 rocket. While we're awaiting updates from Ariane Space on the status of the mission, we do have another mission status to update you on. Within the last couple of minutes, SpaceX confirmed that their Cargo Dragon spacecraft, which undocked from the Harmony module on the International Space Station a little before 12:30 yesterday p.m. Eastern, that has now...
Suite retour au vert, le nouvel gyrovisé sera 12h 21 minutes 52 secondes. Le TD redémarrera à 12h 16 minutes et 52 secondes.
While we're running our French check on the background here, just a quick closing of the loop there. The Cargo Dragon did safely splash down off the coast of California near Oceanside, California, on time at about 5:10 a.m. Pacific, 8:10 a.m. Eastern. So it sounds like they're targeting near the end of the window at 8:21 and 22 seconds a.m. Eastern, 12:21, 22 UTC. So we should see the count pick up here momentarily.
Attention pour la reprise du temps des comptes. Top, début de la séquence finale lanceur. Nouvelle gyrovisée, 12h 21 minutes 52 secondes.
Again, for those just joining us, the clock has been reset and the new T0 from UTC perspective is 12:21 and 52 seconds. This would be basically the last opportunity within the launch window today. So we'll see how the next 2.5 minutes go, but fingers crossed that they've got all the issues resolved, and we'll see the launch of the Ariane 6 rocket, the debut of these new solid rocket boosters on the sides of the main stage. The first flight for the P-160C solid rocket motors. 2 minutes and counting. And you see folks going back outside to hopefully watch the launch yet again. Let's listen in.
À tous de DDO, attention pour moins une minute. Top, A0 moins une minute.
Now 30 seconds to liftoff. We're going to go ahead and listen along with you and join you on the other side of liftoff.
À tous de DDO, attention pour le décompte final. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Allumage ESR et décollage. La propulsion est nominale. La propulsion est nominale. Pilotage calme. Trajectoire nominale. La propulsion est nominale. Passage du transonique. Trajectoire nominale. La trajectoire est nominale.
Now about a minute and a half into flight. So far, a good ascent of the Ariane 6 rocket.
Propulsion nominale. Pilotage toujours calme.
Less than 1 minute's time, we'll see the separation of those 4 solid rocket boosters.
La trajectoire est nominale.
Bearing separation at about T plus 3 minutes, 11 seconds.
Séparation des ESR. Fin de rattrapage, début du mode barbecue. Trajectoire nominale.
Coming up to 3 minutes in flight, about 10 seconds to fairing separation.
Séparation coiffe. La propulsion est nominale.
And there you
Le
see one
pilotage
half
est calme.
payload fairing falling away from the rocket. Coming up to 4 minutes into flight now, the next major milestone will be
Trajectoire
the
nominale.
conclusion of the burn of the Vulcain engine, followed by stage separation, and then the ignition of the Vinci engine on the upper stage. A little more than 4 minutes into flight.
La propulsion est nominale. Le pilotage calme. Trajectoire nominale. La propulsion est nominale. Pilotage calme. La trajectoire reste nominale. Propulsion toujours nominale. Pilotage calme. Il reste 2 minutes de propulsion Vulcain.
And there's a graphical representation of the Ariane 6 rocket with those 36 Amazon Leo satellites on board. Coming up to MECO here shortly.
Propulsion nominale. Pilotage calme. Trajectoire nominale et acquisition de la télémesure par la SNA. Station navalisée Ariane. Il reste 1 minute de propulsion Vulcain. La propulsion est nominale. Trajectoire nominale. extinction Vulcain. Et séparation LLPM. Premier allumage Vinci.
And you could see the onboard camera there in the small box on the right-hand side of the screen. Graphical representation in the big box there.
Début du mode barbecue.
It's quite a stunning view from the upper stage camera.
Trajectoire nominale.
Just a shifted view so we could see the separation with better clarity here. Bring it back to our previous camera view and back into real time here in just a moment.
Premier allumage APU.
There we go, shifted back.
La propulsion est nominale.
Now a little more than 9 minutes into flight. At this point, the Vinci upper stage engine will continue this burn for actually it's not clear how long this burn will last. It was not included in the launch timeline from Ariane Space.
La propulsion est nominale. Le pilotage est calme. Trajectoire nominale. Fin de visibilité de la station de Galio. La propulsion est nominale. Pilotage calme. Trajectoire nominale. La propulsion est nominale. Pilotage calme. Trajectoire nominale et acquisition de la télémesure par la station de Santa Maria des Açores. Propulsion nominale. Pilotage calme. Trajectoire nominale. Propulsion nominale, pilotage calme. Trajectoire nominale. La propulsion nominale, pilotage calme et fin de visibilité de la station SNA. Il reste 2 minutes de propulsion Vinci avant la première extinction. Trajectoire nominale.
Time now, L plus 16 minutes, 38 seconds and counting. Teams are approaching the end of the current burn of the Vinci engine on the rocket's upper stage. At that point, there will be a coast period lasting until about L plus 1 hour and 8 minutes.
Trajectoire nominale. Première extinction Vinci. Orbite correcte.
And it looks like a good conclusion of that burn. It's the call out we just heard in
Le
French.
pilotage est calme. Propulsion nominale, pilotage calme. Acquis. La propulsion est nominale et acquisition de la télémesure par la station de Hossaguel. Propulsion nominale. Pilotage calme. La propulsion est nominale et fin de visibilité de la télémesure par la station de Santa Maria des Açores. Pilotage calme. Propulsion nominale. Pilotage calme. Propulsion nominale, pilotage calme. La propulsion est nominale. 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 Pilotage calme. Fin de visibilité par la station d'Ossaguel et perte de la télémesure attendue. Retour de la télémesure dans environ 28 minutes. Acquisition de la télémesure par la station de Nunorcia. La propulsion est nominale. Le pilotage est calme. La propulsion est nominale. Le pilotage est calme. Propulsion nominale. Pilotage calme. La propulsion est nominale. Le pilotage est calme. La propulsion est nominale. Et le pilotage est calme. La propulsion est nominale. Le pilotage reste calme. La propulsion est nominale. Le pilotage est calme. La propulsion est nominale. Le pilotage est calme. Propulsion nominale. Pilotage calme et fin de visibilité de la station de New Norcia. Perte attendue de la télémesure. Retour de la télémesure dans 2 minutes. Acquisition de la télémesure par la station d'Awarua. Le pilotage est calme.
Just a little bit past 1 hour into the mission so far. L plus 1 hour, 1 minute, 46 seconds and counting. We are coming up to the second burn of the Vinci upper stage engine, which should be coming about in the next roughly 6 minutes or so. That'll put the upper stage on the correct trajectory to begin deploying the 36 Amazon LEO satellites.
Propulsion est nominale.
That'll begin at L
Le pilotage
plus
est calme.
1 hour and 26 minutes, with that deployment sequence lasting a little more than 20 minutes in duration.
La propulsion est nominale. Le pilotage est calme. La propulsion est nominale. Pilotage toujours calme.
Now 1 hour 6 minutes post liftoff, just a couple minutes left before the reignition of the Vinci engine for short burn to put it on the correct trajectory ahead of the start of the deployment sequence.
La propulsion est nominale. Pilotage calme. Propulsion nominale. Pilotage calme. Propulsion nominale. Pilotage calme. Deuxième allumage Vinci. La propulsion est nominale. Pilotage calme. La trajectoire est nominale. Deuxième extinction Vinci.
And the second burn of the Vinci upper stage engine now complete. Coming up next will be the start of the deployment of the 36 Amazon LEO satellites. That's set to begin in less than 20 minutes time at about L+1 hour, 26 minutes into this mission.
La propulsion est nominale. Pilotage calme. Propulsion nominale et pilotage calme. La propulsion est nominale. Pilotage calme. La propulsion est nominale. Pilotage calme. Propulsion nominale. Fin de visibilité de la télémesure par la station d'Awarua. Perte attendue de la télémesure. Retour de la télémesure dans à peu près 25 minutes.
Now L plus 1 hour, 21 minutes, 4 seconds and counting. Just about 5 minutes from now should be the start of the deployment sequence for the 36 Amazon Leo satellites. And as you can see, the first 3 out of 36 Amazon LEO satellites have been deployed. There are about a dozen separation events across this flight here, which will wrap up at about L plus 1 hour and 51 minutes. So got about 20 minutes worth of deployments with, as we've seen with recent flights of Amazon LEO satellites on the United Launch Alliance Atlas V rocket. There will be a couple of minutes in between deployment. Allow the upper stage to get into the right orientation, and then the next series of satellites will be released. Force separation events now complete. About now a third of the way through the total deployment of the satellites from Amazon Leo.
Acquisition de la télémesure par la station de Galio. La propulsion est nominale et le pilotage est calme. Poursuite de la séquence de séparation Amazon Leo LE03. La propulsion est nominale. Le pilotage est calme.
Ariane Space now in the back half of the payload deployment sequence here. Just watching the CGI representation of the release of the 7th trio of satellites. Got about another 10 minutes worth of deployments remaining before this mission is wrapped up.
La propulsion est nominale. Et acquisition de la télémesure par la
Upper
station
stage, as we
navale
saw in
Ariane.
the telemetry representation there, and you can see in the map in the bottom right hand corner of the screen, cruising to the north of the South American continent. Currently at a cruising altitude of about 459 kilometers.
La propulsion est nominale. Le pilotage est calme. Fin de visibilité de télémesure par la station de Galio. Expédition de la télémesure par la station de Santa Maria des Açores. Poursuite de la séquence de séparation Amazon-Léo. Poursuite de la séquence de séparation Amazon-Léo.
And we're coming up to the final separation event here. And there go the final 3 satellites from Amazon Leo that will bring
Poursuite et fin de la séquence de séparation Amazon Léo.
this deployment sequence now coming to an end.
La propulsion est nominale. Le pilotage est calme. Fin de visibilité de la télémesure par la station navale Ariane.
Katie, hi again everybody. The mission is still in progress. We only have partial data at the moment, but those data are extremely positive because they show that all the satellite separation that we have been able to track happen exactly as planned. The satellites have reached successfully their target orbit. So this is a milestone, and even if the mission is still ongoing, I would like to thank all the team and congratulate all the team involved. Today we have launched the heaviest European launcher ever, and this is really a turning point. Last but not least, of course, thank you to Amazon. We are more motivated than ever to make Amazon Leo a success.
Well, David, thank you very much indeed. Congratulations to you.
And some brief remarks there from the CEO of Ariane Space, and that will go ahead and do it for us here in our coverage of the Leo Europe 3 mission, the debut of the new solid rocket boosters, the P-160Cs on the now most powerful configuration of an Ariane 6 rocket to date. Want to thank our moderators in the chat who've been helping us out throughout the course of this coverage, to Jules and M. Teresa. Appreciate the two of you hanging with us, and for those in the live chat who've been able to pop in and do a little quick translation from the French in the broadcast for those of us who are not quite fluent in French or maybe forgot a little bit from our high school and college days. I want to thank our Spaceflight Now editor Stephen Young for running the technical operations of this broadcast. Most importantly, thanks to you for wherever you've been watching from. We certainly appreciate your time and attention and look forward to welcoming you back here when next we have a launch to cover. As planned, that's currently the NROL 179 flight tomorrow morning from Vandenberg Space Force Base. For all of us here at Spaceflight Now, I'm Will Robinson Smith. Remember, be good to yourselves, be good to others. We will see you next time, folks. And until then, bye-bye.